It is mock draft season. So, on today's Browns Report, we are going to react to Dane Brugler from the Athletics mock draft, which came out, and we're filming this, by the way, on Tuesday afternoon during our live show. So, quick plug, tune in for our live content every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And actually, let me raise the stakes a little bit more before we jump into this mock draft from Brugler. If we can get 20 subscribers from this video alone, I'll do my own Browns mock draft. So if you're already subscribed to the channel, send it to a friend that you know is a Browns fan. Have them join. And if you're not subscribed, hit the sub button. And that way I get a good idea of what the viewers want. And I'll put out my own mock draft. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, spoiler alert, the Browns do not have a first-round draft pick. So we'll kind of speed through the first couple of picks here. Caleb Williams go number 1 overall. Not too surprising. Malik Nabers all the way to 4. Interesting. Moving along here, Brock Bowers goes 5. Jaden Daniels, he's the new Atlanta Falcons quarterback. Dallas Turner, he goes to Chicago at number 9. The Broncos go cornerback with Terrion Arnold. Jared Verse, one of my favorite edge rushers in this draft. He's a New Orleans Saint. We've got Brian Thomas, a lower key name. He's going to Jacksonville at number 17. J.J. McCarthy at 19. I wouldn't say is laughable, but it's bad. I am not on board with J.J. being a first-round quarterback. Moving on here, we got some offensive linemen going. I love this pick for the Cowboys. Anytime you lose in the first round of the playoffs again, you got to reload on the offensive line, I suppose. The Buccaneers, they go corner with Kool-Aid McKinstry. You just can't beat a name like Kool-Aid, let's be honest. And then to round out the first round here, Jordan Morgan, an offensive lineman from Arizona, goes to the Baltimore Ravens. So the Browns' second-round pick is coming up in just a moment, but who do you want to have them fall? Who do you want to see fall to the Browns, right? It's not going to be, Marvin Harrison or Malik Nabers, but who's a guy that you think might just be on that zone of first round, second round, and you'd love to see fall to Cleveland in round 2? Cedric Tillman took a bit of fall. DeJuan Jones, I was looking at some mock drafts from last year. He went round 1. He fell to the Browns in round 4. Pretty interesting stuff there. All right, let's get into round 2 now, because now the Browns come to play. How about Bo Nix going to the Patriots at number 34 overall? Moving along a little bit here, getting closer and closer. Michael Penix to the Raiders at number 44. Jalen Polk, I've seen him mocked to the Browns before, so keep an eye on that name. Inching closer to Cleveland, though. We're going through some big guys up front here. And then we've got Zach Frazier, one of the better offensive linemen, unfortunately staying in the division. And finally, we get to the Browns at pick 54, where they select wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. So let's get to know Mr. Troy Franklin a little bit better. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our sponsor today, which is Factor. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you are ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Stress less over meal times in the new year. Factor's no prep, no mess meals free up time otherwise spent shopping, cooking, and cleanup, plus no more wasting time in the kitchen. Not only does Factor offer fast, simple solutions when you're too busy to cook, but they also help you stay on top of your goals. With offerings like Protein Plus and Keto, you can stay on track. This is definitely going to come in handy for everyone's New Year goals. So head to factormeals.com/BrownsChat50 and use code BrownsChat50 to get 50% off. That's code BrownsChat50 at factormeals.com/BrownsChat50 to get 50% off. Now, let's turn our attention back to the Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin, who had an incredible junior season in Eugene. 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. One of just 2 wide receivers to have that many yards and that many touchdowns. The other guy was Malik Nabers, who went 4th overall. But what maybe jumps out to me the most is the receiving average, 17.1. That's a big play waiting to happen. He's 6'3" and 187 pounds. So he's got the size to go up and pinpoint footballs and bring them down, right? But he's also got the leanness to just beat the brakes off people and go vertical. Now, this is not an Anthony Schwartz comp. No, Anthony Schwartz was one thing and one thing only, fast, okay? And the Browns were hoping they could teach him the other elements of football. Ultimately, that didn't really work out. But with Troy Franklin, he's got the ball skills. He's got the ability to beat corners at the top of a football flight path. And ultimately, he's got the speed to beat them vertically. Now, I think back to last year when Andrew Berry gave a press conference talking about what they look for in drafting players. And they talked about horse traits and duck traits. And I want to bring this up to remind everyone about how the Browns draft, how the Browns operate. And the way Andrew Berry put it was pretty poetic, which is you got guys who might be ducks, right? And ducks can swim, ducks can run, they can waddle, they can fly a little bit. But do they do any of those things very well? No. Now you got horses. Horses can't swim very well. They sure as hell can't fly, but they can run. And so Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are looking for guys that stand out in one element. They're not looking for someone that's just average at a bunch of things. They want to find a guy who jumps off the bound, jumps off the page at one thing, and they'll try and coach up the other elements. And Troy Franklin does that. Troy Franklin does that with his big play abilities and the way he can stretch the field and add a vertical element to the passing game. Now, let's look at Dane Brugler's write-up on Troy Franklin. The Browns need to get more explosive at receiver. As a true junior in 2023, Franklin was one of only two FBS receivers with 1,300-plus receiving yards and 14-plus touchdowns. Nabers was the other. He also ranked top 3 with 8 catches of 40-plus yards. Now, does wide receiver jump out as a need for the Browns? I'd say so. Like, their top 4 guys are all under contract for 2024, but I didn't see enough from Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, or David Bell to be convinced that they can hold down the fort moving forward, or I guess in the post-Amari Cooper era. So Troy Franklin could bring a much-needed big play element because Elijah Moore was relatively underwhelming this year, and hopefully we see him continue to grow, but just didn't see as much as I would have liked to seen. Cedric Tillman, I'm not going to grade too harshly as a rookie. David Bell is good for one thing and one thing only. The moment he catches that football, he's going down to the ground. There is no yards after the catch with David Bell, which, for better or for worse, he's going to get you the first down, but he's not going to get you a whole lot after that. Whereas Troy Franklin, he can bring that big play machine element to this offense. The Browns will likely need to fill holes during this draft and not pursue best player available. Remember last year when they took DeJuan Jones and they took Cedric Tillman with some of their first picks? Did they have a big need at offensive tackle? No. Did they have a big need at wide receiver? Not really after trading for Elijah Moore. Like, they had DPJ still. We're talking about a guy battling for wide receiver 4 with David Bell and Marquise Goodwin. But the Browns were able to plug up all their holes in free agency, and then they viewed the draft as just an opportunity to get richer. That's not going to be the case this year. They are going to go into free agency and the draft with some needs, and they will not be able to satisfy all those needs. That sounded weird. In free agency. And their draft will have to supplement some of their shortcomings going into 2024. So what position do you guys think the Browns should draft first? This is always a fun question that fans debate, and ultimately free agency happens beforehand, and that kind of answers the question for you. But as of this moment, what position do you want to see the Browns draft first? I do want to also mention that mock drafts are great, and they're fun. They're not always very accurate. And I'm not trying to take a stab at Brugler here because I think he is the best at what he does. He's better than Mel Kiper. He's better than Todd McShay. But even Dane Brugler, I looked back at his January 2023 mock draft, so 12 months ago. He went 6 for 10 in terms of guys going in the top 10 that he had going top 10. Of his 31 round 1 selections, only 20 ended up going round 1. Forget what team they went to. That's just a shot in the dark. Only 20 of the 31 even went in that round. And then his round 2 selections for this exact same mock draft he did a year ago, 10 of the 32 round 2 guys ended up going round 2. It's a needle in a haystack in a lot of ways, but it's still fun. I mean, fucking mock draft. Who's going to love it? And for reference, Brugler does get better as he gets closer to the NFL draft. I look back at his November 2022 mock draft for last year's draft, he went 19 for 31. Fast forward to his final one, he finishes 24 for 31. So as we get closer, and once the combine and pro days happen, we'll have a much better idea of who's going in what round. And once we know that, I can really start diving into who the Browns should be looking at. Because I remember last year people talking about, oh, let's get Siaka Ika in round 2. Well, he went to the Browns in round 3. How about the year before? Get Perrion Winfrey in round 2. Well, he went to the Browns in round 4. So let's figure out who should go where. And then we'll address who would be a good pick for the Browns. Off-season mode is here. Let's pick a card.
Let's go.
Trace, which card do you want to go with?
I'm going to go with the 4 of spades.
4 of spades? 4 of spades. I'm going to go with the big Deshaun Watson guy. I like it. Give me the 8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds?
8 of diamonds. Ready? 3 of spades.
Oh!
3 of spades,
Oh,
dude.
so close.
You were Gordon Hayward for Butler.
I know.
Damn.
I lost the headset. I was so close.
All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Always appreciate those of you that take time out of your day to come hang out with us. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. Like the video, all that cliche stuff, and we will see you guys later.